Hey, this is Dusty Thunder with another AITA story for you, and this one is, am I the astronaut for telling my sister she doesn't get to force our family to pretend we like her daughter's name? My sister gave birth to her first child 2 months ago and named her Olivia. The name Olivia has a bit of history with our family. To make a long story short, I was bullied by a girl named Olivia for years. My parents had to move me out of our local small school into a bigger one, and it did not stop there. What started as an 8-year-old being mean and cruel at times turned into a 16-year-old being arrested for harassing and making my life absolutely hell, and going so far that she was considered a stalker. It was so bad that from the ages of 12 to 16, I did not leave home without one of my parents or one of my older brothers, who were several years older than me. It was also so bad that my parents had to call the police on a few occasions where Olivia followed me home and was outside our house trying to get to me. To say that this was a huge ordeal for all of us is an understatement, and to say it left me with some mental scarring would be an even larger understatement. So when my sister announced that her daughter's name was Olivia, it was a shock. My mom asked her if she was serious, and my sister grew defensive and said of course she was serious. That Olivia is the most popular name right now for a good reason, because it's beautiful. My brothers told her she was insensitive and that they had no idea she cared so little about me, which added to the defensiveness. Dad didn't say a lot, but he told her it would take some time for all of us to adjust to the name. She did not like that. I actually didn't say anything, but she started ranting and raving about how many people are named Olivia and we're not acting like that about them. I wasn't there for the whole thing, but my mom and oldest brother apparently told her that she had every right to name her child whatever they wanted, but that they felt she was very unfair to me and that she had to understand what I had been through was something they would never fully grasp. Mom said she is an adult and old enough to accept that people have feelings, and sometimes those feelings will matter more than others' feelings. My sister contacted me directly after a few weeks of our family not coming around. She said it was all my fault and that I should have been the one to say something positive about the name, that I could have turned the tide with the family. I told her that was a name tied up with a lot of trauma for me. She called it bullshit and said I'm old enough now, 20, to be mature about it and not take it out on her and her daughter, to not hate a name because of a single person. I told her that she's old enough to understand she can't force our family to pretend we like her daughter's name. I told her she is old enough to give us the time that we asked for, and that none of us said it was ugly or awful, but that it's associated with my worst memories. She told me we were trying to influence what she could and couldn't name her daughter, and it made us assholes, especially me. Am I the astronaut? The question is, am I the astronaut for telling my sister she doesn't get to force our family to pretend we like her daughter's name? Which is a reasonable response here. And for the person that should have the biggest problem with the name, she handled it really, really well. She's only 20 years old, but handled it very maturely to say nothing in the moment whenever tensions were flaring. But then later on, whenever her sister reached out to her to have a discussion about it, to be very calm and collected and say, look, nobody said it was a bad name. It's just, it's tied to some terrible things. Now let's talk about the sister. Why on earth would her sister, who's apparently older than OP is here, why would her sister jump to this name? Why would her sister choose this name knowing that there was a problem there, knowing that the whole family knew about the problem and experienced it, and it wasn't just an isolated thing, it was something that the whole family had to adjust to? Why would she choose that name? Surely she knew. Surely she wasn't just like, oh, the name Olivia's pretty, and just didn't remember anything that was associated with it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Was this, in your opinion, petty bullshit? Did she choose this name on purpose to take a jab at her sister? The baby, who's obviously the innocent bystander in all of this and received the name, probably gets the shit end of the stick out of anybody, but I'm guessing that by the time that Olivia the baby is old enough to know what the hell's going on, most of the family will have moved past this. Now, this was a shit thing for her mom to do, and I think someday, whenever she hears the story, she'll be like, why did you give me this name? Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that to your sister? And that's the big question here, is why would she do that to her sister? It sounds like it had to have been done intentionally. This had to have been a premeditated thing, because there's no way she didn't realize what the name was attached to. NTA for saying to the sister that she can't force the family to like the name, because you can't. And it's not that anybody dislikes the name itself. It's nobody's understanding why she would choose that when it's already connected to something so negative. And to me, the only thing that makes sense is that it was done on purpose to be a shitbag. And if that's the case, then it's even worse. So yeah, it sucks. But OP handled it really, really well. OP didn't shout. OP didn't say, how could you do this to me? OP was just like, I just don't understand. Like, you have to understand that it's connected to something negative. And that's it. Not the asshole for saying that. We can jump to some conclusions and make some assumptions here and say that perhaps older sister was jealous of all the attention that OP got here because she was going through this trauma, and that trauma involved her requiring so much support and focus from the family because they had to protect her. They had to move her out of the school. So all eyes were on her for a while she was going through this. And it sounded like it was a long ass time. I mean, from 8 till 16, damn, that was a long time. That probably was enough to make her sister jealous of all the attention that she got. So when she got to this point, she was like, you know what? I'm going to take my swing. I'm going to take my shot, and did it. But it was an asshole move. Oof. Where would you put the sister on the scale here? The sister who named her daughter Olivia. I mean, sure seems like an ASCON 1 offense to me. Seems like a terrible thing to do, not just to your sister, not just to the rest of your family, but to your child, to choose that. I think ASCON 1 is the way to go. Also, if you weren't here Wednesday, and you didn't see the B-Day Bash live, we have this cool new setup now that actually changes colors with the ASCON scale ratings. So when we went to ASCON 1, they all turned pink. I think it's cool. Candy Thunder probably thinks it's too much, but I think it's cool. That's a terrible thing to do. It had to be premeditated, and she had to do it just to be shitty, even if it was traumatizing for her to have her whole family focus on just her sister while she was going through this, and that's where all this is coming from. It doesn't make it okay. Does not make it okay. When you look at the inevitabilities here about how her daughter's going to find out someday, she's going to learn the story, she's going to be pissed at her mom, everybody will get over it eventually, they'll accept the name, they're not going to hate this kid because of the name, but it's always going to be a reminder of this really shitty thing that her mom did. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another AITA story for you, and this one is, am I the astronaut for telling my wife off after getting our daughter to cut her hair off even after being told not to? My wife is currently battling cancer, and one of the things she's told me she's struggling with the most is losing her hair. She's been given a near 100% chance of survival since we caught it early, but the chemotherapy has destroyed her hair anyway, and she had to shave what was left of it off a few weeks ago. Not long after that, she suggested we attempt to get our 17-year-old daughter, Anna, to do so as well. Anna has very long hair that she puts a lot of care into, so I felt it was appropriate to ask her in private if she wanted to or would be willing to do such a thing. She told me that she didn't want to cut her hair, and I figured that was the end of that. However, yesterday they came home from a girl shopping trip, something they do every so often, and Anna had a buzzed haircut. That struck me as odd after what she'd said, so after dinner I talked to her and she told me that my wife had said she would never forgive Anna if she didn't show her support by buzzing her head. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? No, that's not cool. I asked her if she was happy about it, and she said that she wasn't. When I went to bed, I brought it up with my wife, and she said it was Anna's choice to or not. I just told her how I'd see the situation. I told her off, saying she needed to respect Anna's personal choices and that a 17-year-old girl being against shaving her head wasn't exactly out of the ordinary. However, my wife simply said it was to show support for her. I've been sleeping on the couch since. I love my wife, and I understand that she's going through something traumatic. However, her attitude comes off as very manipulative to me, and that's not behavior I feel I can personally accept. I'm not sure if I can move past this to continue the relationship. Am I the astronaut? That's not cool. It's not supporting you if you force someone into it. That's not support. That's guilt. That's forcing guilt onto someone. That's using guilt as a weapon. That's using your condition as a weapon. That's using cancer that you were given a near 100% chance of surviving still as a weapon to force your 17-year-old daughter to shave her head so that you don't have to be the only one that doesn't have long, flowy, beautiful hair. And that's what this is about. This is a jealousy thing. This is not a support me thing. This is a, if I can't have long, flowy hair, no one in this house will. and I'm gonna force our 17-year-old daughter, who has long, beautiful hair and spends tons of time and care on it, to shave her flippin' head. That's a terrible thing to do. To use your condition like that to force someone to do this against their will. And I'm sure it was a discussion. I'm sure the discussion was like, I don't want to. Like, I can't. And then for her mom to say, I will never forgive you if you don't do this. Her mom, who now has no hair, probably has some kind of covering on there and is still going through chemo. So probably looks pretty drained and weathered from the process there. Staring at your mom battling cancer, even though she has a 100% chance of beating it back, near 100% chance, who is asking that of you and telling you that she would never forgive you if you didn't do it. What choice do you have? Anna was not given a choice here, and that is shit. Mom done weaponized cancer. Holy shit. Is there more to it? Is there more than the jealousy of not being able to stand seeing her daughter? And this may be another side of it here is that, I think parents, whenever they see their kids, they see a little bit of themselves in there too, right? So she's staring at her daughter. She's seeing a younger version of herself with something that she can't have now. It's got to be just like a jealous rage that she feels inside of her. Is there more to it than that? Never heard of this happening before. I'm sure it happens a lot, but this is the first time we've encountered it in a story, and it just makes me sick. It's gross. And I certainly feel for everyone who is going through cancer and battling it, or has a family member or a friend that's going through it, because it is a tumultuous time that is not something that you would wish upon anyone ever, no matter how much you disliked them. But this is gross. This is not okay. It is emotional abuse. Mom's an ASCON 1. We covered that. Hubby here is the OP, and he's saying, am I the astronaut for telling my wife off after getting our daughter to cut her hair off, even after being told not to? Hell no. You were standing up for your daughter. Unfortunately, too late. Now it has to be like you have to police the situation hardcore and make sure that she doesn't do anything else. Mom needs help. We can all agree on that. Mom needs some help here. And obviously she's going through something traumatic. If this is out of character for her, if this is something that she would not have done previously, she definitely needs help, and she needs it now, because she's got to get this under control, or she's going to sever all the relationships in her life. And going through what she's going through, that is the last thing that she wants to do. If this is in character and this is how she has been, and she's been this level of manipulative throughout life, I don't know that therapy is going to do a lot of good. And now you have to look at protecting your daughter. Either way, you have to look at protecting your daughter, but is this in character, or is this because she's going through this traumatic thing right now and she's acting out? Is this something new? Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another story from Reddit for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she told our parents I'm a prostitute? Sure, that wasn't an awkward conversation at all. I, 27 female, am about to get married to my girlfriend, 26 female. This all started years ago when the favorite child, my stepsister, 24, went on a family vacation with us. Me and my stepsister shared a room, and as young teenagers do, we threw multiple tantrums. As such, we decided to stick to ourselves, as she turned her back to me for the rest of the holiday and ignored my existence. After coming home, she continued to ignore me and pretend I didn't exist. This almost broke our parents up. After this, she convinced her mother that I was a drug-addicted prostitute who sold my body for sex. This was, in fact, untrue. I will admit I had a minor weed addiction at the time, and I had dated a couple of guys exploring my sexuality, which she knew, as I was only out as gay to her at the time. But I was in no way selling myself for sex or an addict. I took a bit of weed a couple of times before parties, that was all. After this, I got completely isolated and destroyed by my family. They started to ignore me and treat me as though I was nothing but an eyesore. This escalated into a couple fights with my dad, where I tried to prove my innocence, but to no avail. This forced me to come out as gay before I was ready, and she threatened to tell our parents, who are religious. This took a toll on my mental health, and I suffered in that house for years, until it eventually led to me getting kicked out and disowned. Years later, the truth finally came out about all her lies. She, in a drunken night, confessed to her boyfriend about how she ruined her stepsister's life because she was jealous and had her own insecurities at the time. This led to my father tracking me down and apologizing for all the trauma he inflicted on me in my youth. I am now with a loving girlfriend and have a 2-year-old daughter with her. My life has finally gotten to a place where I am happy, so this completely made my world crumble. I forgive my father and stepmother as I believe in second chances. We have gone out to a couple of meals together along with my daughter and fiance. My parents love my child and want to be a part of their granddaughter's life. In 2 months' time, I'm going to marry the love of my life, and I foolishly invited my parents. I wanted to trust them, but some things never change. I obviously decided to not invite my stepsister that ruined my life, but my family insisted that I do because apparently she is sorry and regrets all she did to me. I, however, know that she is a manipulative, selfish person and saw past her lies. I refused to invite her to my wedding after she destroyed my childhood. After saying this, my dad started to tell me if I didn't make up with my sister and invite her to the wedding, then he wouldn't go himself. He claims he can't choose sides and that it's either both of his kids there or he can't go. I really want my dad to walk me down the aisle, but I refuse to let my stepsister back in my life. So am I the asshole for not inviting my sister to my wedding? No. Guess what? Your dad already chose sides a long time ago. He chose her side way back when. And that's what caused all of this bullshit. So his I can't choose sides story is horse shittery. No. And if he says, oh, if she's not coming, I can't come, fine, dude. You're choosing her again. Shocking. This is the shittiest part of this whole story is that time and time again, we see people go through some trauma early in life. And then if they are strong enough and determined enough and fortunate enough to shake that off, move on, get to a place where they're actually happy and stable in life at that moment where it's like, finally, I've made it. I got past all that bullshit from my past. I'm good now. Who shows up? The ghost from the past can sense happiness. It's like they can smell it. And they're like, oh, you know what? I think she's happy and stable now. We should go ruin that shit. And I would not doubt for a minute if the stepsister is behind dad reaching out here. And if her spilling the beans here was part of a maniacal plot to get dad to reach out so that she would have an end to be able to go to the wedding and do something stupid there too. For she's already ruined her life once, why not do it again? For old time's sake. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, right? Something old. Old time's sake, why not? Why not let me ruin your life one more time? Come on now. It'll be fun for everyone but you. Be fun for me. I call bullshit. Dad, if he is not willing to come to your wedding without the person who ruined your life before, then he doesn't really want to make amends with you. He's there on behalf of her. And it sucks to accept that. It sucks, especially because you were in this good place and then he came crawling back and asked for forgiveness and wanted to form a relationship with you and your kid. And you were like, yeah, okay, I will. I will let you into my life again. And then so quickly, they disappoint you. I think all they're doing right now is proving why they aren't allowed to be part of your life anymore. This is reinforcement for you. You were happy. You were okay. You know that you don't need them to be okay, to have a happy family, to have a happy life. You do not need them. Do they need you? Or does stepsister just need something to ruin again? Am I the asshole for not inviting my sister to my wedding? Hell no. NTA. Don't do it. Oh yeah, and stepsister, by the way, for doing what she did and actually ruining your life, yeah, ask on one all the way. And for dad not being willing to make this decision and him saying that he can't choose sides just drives me insane because he is choosing sides. And for him to say that and to put on this act like he wants to be the good guy, the good dad, and make everything better, but not really. I feel like he deserves to be on the scale here too. I'm not quite sure where. I don't know if he realizes what he's doing or if he's being manipulated by stepsister and he's just a puppet in all of this. Either way, he's an asshole for doing it, but it does affect how big of an asshole he is. We have to take the past into account here too. And back then, instead of having the conversation and being like, okay, this is what she's saying, we really want to get to the bottom of this, we want to hear both sides, they just excommunicated her and now have just come back into her life to try to get the stepsister invited to the wedding. Yeah, screw that. We'll go here too. Apparently it's biological. Sucks. Further reinforcement, you do not need them in your life to be happy. Go be happy without them. Go be happy in spite of your past. The best revenge you can get is to be happy. Good gravy. This is it. We have the latest installment of the financial infidelity story. It is here. It is time. Are you ready? Latest update: was accused of financial infidelity. Husband was actually cheating. Not sure if folks remember. We remember. But I had a series of posts earlier in the summer, actual links in my profile, first about whether I was the asshole for buying an expensive gaming PC, desk, and chair with my own allocation of fund money, leading to an accusation of financial infidelity from my husband. Later, he told me that the actual issue was that he was disappointed by my job, senior software dev, but not on the executive management track, relatively casual appearance, not dressing up in dresses, makeup, and heels for dinners at home, and my failure to cook extremely elaborate multi-course meals on a nightly basis. After a simple experiment showed that changing these things, the cooking and appearance anyway, would not actually make him happy, he accused me of being low value because I wasn't a virgin when we met in college 12 years ago, something he had never stated was an issue before, and then admitted he was cheating with a coworker who is now pregnant. Last I updated, he had moved in with Amy, his coworker, and we were starting the divorce process. I'm updating again here because a lot of kind people have been checking in with well wishes and to see how I'm holding up. Sorry for not updating sooner, but as soon as I got back from the spa weekend I mentioned in my last update, I dove into working with my attorney on the divorce settlement. And I didn't think it wise to put my business on the internet, however, anonymously, with the legal issues up in the air. The good news is that we were able to come to an agreement pretty quickly, and everything is now executed. Just waiting for the court date, which could take another couple of months, but my lawyer says the agreement is airtight. It wasn't quite as favorable as most of you all lovely folks probably would have wanted for me, but I was highly motivated to get it done fast. I did get everything that really mattered to me. First, the house I inherited from my grandmother is 100% mine, along with all the furnishings and other effects in the house. My own retirement accounts and my fund money account are all mine as well. Otherwise, I did have to give him 75% of the other cash assets. Although he wasn't on the title for the house, he did contribute substantially to the large renovation we did, as well as to upkeep since then. And the house appreciated very substantially in the years since we moved in. It's fine as I still have plenty of money, especially as I'm quite frugal most of the time and can rebuild cash savings quickly. Our agreement also states that neither of us has a claim on each other's past, present, or future earnings. So in case something happens and he loses his job before the court date, I won't be liable for any alimony. This is actually overall a very good deal for me and gives me a lot of security. In case anyone is wondering how we got this done so quickly, our state allows divorce on mutual consent grounds, which basically allows for a quick divorce without a legal separation period if the parties come to an agreement about all of the finances/assets. Given that Amy is pregnant, my soon-to-be ex, let's call him Joe, yes, like the psychopath in the show You, was also very motivated to not drag this out. Now for the real dirt of this update. Last weekend, shortly after all of our papers were signed, Amy reached out to me. She asked if we could meet and talk. Perhaps I should have declined, but I will admit that I was curious about the 24-year-old prodigy and until recently a virgin person who was Joe's affair partner, so I agreed to meet her for lunch. So the first thing is Amy is very pregnant, like third trimester. She confirmed she is due in mid-October, which means the affair has been going on a whole lot longer than Joe let on. Whatever, it's water under the bridge as the divorce is almost final. However, after some polite but chilly pleasantries, she asked me, when am I going to be moving out of the house? Because surely Joe has been patient enough with giving me time to get my life together, and her apartment is small and they're needing a space for the baby. OP gets to keep the house, remember. Amy doesn't know this, apparently. What? I told her she must be mistaken as the house is mine, inherited from my grandmother, but asked her what else has Joe told her about me and our marriage. And lie after lie, Joe's lies, that is, tumbled out of her mouth along with crumbs of the real story. These gems include, well, it was true that she and Joe met at work, but it was about a year ago when they were both interviewing for the executive training program they are now in. Amy said, though, that they first became friends before getting together romantically. Apparently, Joe told her that he was legally married, but that we have been separated in spirit and living separate lives since 2020. But he didn't want to kick me out and make me homeless during the pandemic because I didn't make much money and we live in an HCOL. Joe told Amy that we met in our early 20s when he was mentoring me in a GED prep program, that I was a high school dropout who was struggling with addiction, and essentially that he rescued me, helped me get clean, tutored me for my GED, and had been supporting me since gradually working on college classes. He told Amy I was working on prepping for an IT career and was currently making $45K as a help desk technician, and that he wanted to make sure I could at least afford a studio apartment. He also told Amy that we had separated because I had relapsed and he couldn't have a meaningful relationship with a drug addict. Ugh. All of this is lies. My entire history of drug use is occasionally sharing a joint in college, maybe 4 to 5 times total. Never anything harder. It is true that Amy was a 24-year-old virgin prodigy. She seemed dismayed that Joe had told me that, though, at least the virgin part. Said it wasn't a moral issue, she really was just focused on school and work and didn't make time to date. And that generally, guys her age seemed mostly interested in casual hookups, especially the younger finance bro types, and she wasn't interested in that, but that Joe took the time to get to know her and was actually interested in a meaningful relationship. I asked her if the pregnancy was planned. She said no, of course not, but it was a miracle because Joe had a vasectomy, so they took that as a sign that they should keep the baby. No, Joe did not have a vasectomy. As we were planning to be a child-free couple, I suggested it a couple of times over the years. He firmly stated he didn't want to alter his body like that, so he left birth control as my responsibility. So it really does seem that Amy is pretty blameless here. I mean, those of us who have been around the block would likely know not to believe a guy who claims to be separated but is still legally married and living with his wife, but without her having any dating or relationship experience, I can see where she would have taken him at his word about everything. After all, I didn't know anything was amiss with Joe until a couple of months ago, and I was married to him. Of course, Amy didn't want to believe me, and I don't blame her for that either. After all, she's been in a relationship with Joe for close to a year and is 7+ months pregnant with his baby, who is coming soon, ready or not. I couldn't immediately refute everything she said, but showed her a couple of things. First, a picture of me in my late teens with my grandmother in front of my house, and also my LinkedIn profile, which shows my current job and education. I told her to do what she wanted with the info and to please stay safe and take care of herself, and then said my goodbyes. Yes, it was all very odd and unexpected and surreal. Sorry this is so long, but figured those following my tale would be interested in this turn. I'm not sure if I will update again, maybe in a year or so when I have truly processed everything with lots of therapy and I'm hopefully on to living my best life. As for Joe and Amy, it's up to them to find whatever their path is. I do hope she wises up and leaves him, but I'm sadly not confident about that. I'm sure he will be able to spin all of this in his favor because that's what he does, but I also can't make it my problem anymore. Amy's in some real danger here. At least OP finally got away from this guy, but literally he created this smokescreen that is an entire life built on lies. He created just this false identity. And I don't know what his plan was with the house. This is part of the problem with spinning the web of lies, right? Is that you're eventually going to get caught in it. He's told her that they're going to have the house, but there's no way in hell that's going to happen. So what was his plan there? You're going to spin something else off? I don't understand the extremes here either. I'm like, dude, if you're going to lie, why would you make it such outlandish thing? You didn't have to be this story about her being like high school dropout drug addict. Where did all of this come from? Why is it so outlandish and so far out there? I do not understand. You can't sustain those lies forever. Eventually you're going to get caught, and he's at high risk now because she's presented evidence to the contrary of what Amy believes to be true right now. So she's already, baby's not even born, and she's already received evidence from someone that contradicts his bullshit lies. And yeah, she's probably not going to do anything with it because it is her first relationship and because she's scared shitless right now. And doing this alone would be a big, big leap from first relationship to single mom. I get it. But it's going to end up there eventually because he's going to do this again. He's going to do it to her. He's going to do this to someone else because he's going to get bored. It's going to happen again. But at least OP is now free of it all and can move on. The story has had 37 updates, not that many, but a lot. This seems like some closure for her, so good for her. And I'm happy that she went through, and even though it's not final yet, at least has the agreement sealed down on both sides. Everybody's accepted it at least, and she is happy with where she is going to be. So she's happy. She knows that this chapter of her life is closed. She's moving on to something completely different now. Good for her. But holy shit, Amy, wake up, girl. OP and Joe were in an intentionally child-free relationship, and now Amy's pregnant. This guy is a pathological liar and a narcissist, do you want that person around your kids? I think that's where Amy is going to have to start thinking now. At some point, she's going to have to start thinking, look, this guy's dangerous. Do I really want him around my child? It's his child too now, which complicates it much further, but eventually she's going to have to start thinking in that direction. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another AITA story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for taking my daughter to the hairdressers to have her hair cut against my ex-wife's wishes? I, 45 male, have a daughter, Lily, 14 female. Me and my wife, Marie, 43 female, have been separated for over 5 years now and have split custody over Lily. However, she prefers to stay with me. I'm not sure if it is cultural, but my wife and her family have always insisted on Lily to let her hair grow, as they believe the longer your hair is, the more feminine you are, and they always take pride in how long their own hair is. Lily followed, as she didn't want to cause a scene. Lily's hair was going past her thighs. Lily was staying with me last weekend, and when I was about to go to bed, I saw her crying while brushing her hair. I asked what was wrong, and it felt as if Lily was having a breakdown. She started to cry harder and told me how much she hates her hair, that it takes her hours each day to brush through them due to how thick they are and how hot and tired it makes her feel. I'm not even mentioning styling them. She also told me how she wants to dye them, but Marie would not let her do this as it would ruin her hair and is a bad taste. I hugged her and told her not to worry and I will think of something. I called my sister and explained the situation to her. She organized an appointment for the next day with her stylist to look at Lily's hair and do something with it. So the next day I took Lily to the hair salon where she had her hair cut. She chose a long bob, ? So her hair is now just about reaching her shoulders with the rest of the hair donated. She also had some highlights done, which made Lily super happy. When Lily got home, Marie called me immediately and said, I'm an asshole and what have I done to our daughter? She and her whole family started berating me for it and making horrible comments about Lily, so she ended up coming back to me and is staying with me. Marie took it to social media saying I'm a horrible father that have stripped my daughter out of her womanhood and femininity. Even my parents called me about it and said that I shouldn't have taken Lily to the hairdresser without discussing it first with Marie. And it was past her thighs. Okay, here's the kicker. Marie, mom here, doesn't give two shits what her daughter thinks. And this is the problem. And even OP says, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what. So it could be a cultural thing, but it's his daughter. She's not 100% bought into that. They have split custody over her. She is 14 and she gets to make a choice about what to do with her hair. She gets to choose, right? I mean, if it's something absolutely crazy, a parent can try to talk them out of it, but she was forced to grow her hair past her thighs and hates it and wanted to do something about it. She's 14. And yes, if they have split custody, maybe per the agreement, he should have contacted mom first and maybe he could end up in some hot water for this because of that, but it doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing to do. He didn't make the choice either. Lily made the choice. And I think that's an important distinction here. He didn't make the choice. Lily made the choice about what to do with her own hair. He simply gave her the opportunity to make the choice, something that Marie, mom, would never do. And whenever Lily got home, Marie didn't have a conversation with her about like your womanhood and femininity. Does it take hair past your thighs to prove your femininity? And guess what, Mom, Marie, Lily hated it. Guess what else? Now you're proving that you don't give a shit what she wants or thinks or feels. And she went back to dad's. So you're creating a rift between you and your daughter here, whether you like it or not. And it could be a cultural thing, but you're allowing that to create a rift between you and your daughter and harm that relationship. And, OP, your parents getting involved and calling and saying that you shouldn't have done it without talking to Marie first are probably just playing defense there because they're probably taking heat over this too. Marie seems pretty pissed. Her whole family seems pretty pissed. They probably reached out and got pretty pissed with your folks. So they're playing defense and they're like, hey man, yeah, hey, we're even taking heat for this. You probably shouldn't have done that. And whatever, at this point, it was Lily's freaking choice. If mom gave a shit, she would know that. Sorry for the sirens. Candy Thunder left the top comment for us. Top comment is NTA. They are more concerned about what others think than what's going on with your daughter. True. It was never about what she wanted. It was never about what she felt. It was never about what she preferred or what she thought. Mom was looking at it as what other people are going to see. Probably immediately what her family was going to see and think. And then that would reflect on her. She was worried about herself. Screw that. NTAOP. Lily opened up to her dad and explained to her dad, how she was actually feeling, and dad jumped into action. It probably is a cultural thing, but if that's creating a chasm between you and your child, maybe you need to look into it. Also, if it were a known cultural thing, I feel like OP would have said, yes, this is a cultural thing. But he says, I'm not sure if it's cultural, but my wife and her family have always insisted on Lily let her hair grow. So it was never like yes, this is because of our religion or our belief system or whatever. And they donated the hair is even better. And I imagine, if she has like shoulder length hair now, and it was past her thighs before. I'm 6'1.5", but that's it's a few feet worth of hair. It's a lot of hair. Holy cow. NTA. Do what's right for your kid. Do the right thing, yo. Do the DFHB thing. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another Reddit story for you. This one is not an AITA, but instead comes from relationship advice and is titled, My Husband Threw Away All My Food Because I'm a Cow. Backstory. We've been married for 6 years and together for 9 years. 2 college kids who fell in love and decided to build a life together. I recently gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, 14 weeks old, who's my entire world. I've suffered through 3 miscarriages and experienced several complications during pregnancy. I was on bed rest for 3 months and had to go through over 20 hours of labor before the doctors performed an emergency C-section. Holy hell. But our daughter was born healthy and happy, and all that pain was worth it. I had gained about 30 pounds during my pregnancy. I was 5'7", 121 pounds prior. After giving birth, I gained another 10 pounds since I have been breastfeeding, and my body has been craving calorie-dense foods. Not junk food, just 70% minimum cacao chocolate. Stuff like plantain chips, meats, dairy, nuts, etc. The doctor told me I should listen to my body's needs and feed myself whatever I feel like I need. My husband has been helpful. He was happy when he learned the gender, took care of me, and accommodated all of my needs during my bed rest. Postpartum, however, he started to make up excuses to not help with the baby. He hasn't been as affectionate with our daughter as I had hoped he would be. He made a few negative comments about my weight here and there, like, you're a bit chubby. Today's a good day to work out and shed some pounds. I was an extremely active woman who worked out 4 to 5 times a week and indulged in dangerous and adventurous activities, but now I'm completely exhausted. I can barely get out of bed. I've collapsed 5 times and I'm stressed out, and at the same time, I have to take care of our baby and the household. The other day, my husband had already gone to work when I went into the kitchen and found all of my food gone. Every single bag, box, package, everything. I called him crying to inquire where all my food is, and he told me he threw everything out because I needed to start losing weight. I hung up on him and called my best friend so she could bring me some food that I needed from the store. Afterwards, my husband came home, and when he saw the food that she had bought, he threw everything outside and smashed everything with his foot. I was furious with him, and I was screaming and yelling at him for being a selfish POS, and he called me an effing cow while throwing some of the crushed packages at me and ended up punching a hole in the door. I think we all know where this is going. I called my brother who picked me and my baby up, and I'm now staying at his place. His mother, sister, and even my own mother are all defending him and that I have to lose weight and apologize to him for my postpartum breakdown. Wait, what? Hold up. His mother, sister, and even my own mother are all defending him. It's OP's mom defending him that has me most flabbergasted here. I guess I'm not sure if this is good grounds to file for divorce, or should I just listen to my mother? Is this how all men are wired? Okay, there's an update here, but before we get into that, no, this is not how all men are wired. If Brozo is willing to get violent and punch a hole in a door or a wall over some effing food, what's the next trigger gonna be? And what's he gonna get violent with then? You don't get to be violent. You don't get to punch holes in stuff and get to have a happy family and a happy marriage and be around a baby. You don't get to do that, man. You don't get to. And you know what? If you stayed with him, you would probably get in trouble for endangerment here as well by choosing to stay in that environment. It's not okay. It is not safe. If for no other reason than the safety of your child, you have to look at the situation and say, yeah, I have to get out to protect my child because homeboy just punched a hole in a door over the food that I need to eat to be able to breastfeed. Yeah, he's sitting at Brozo Ask on one right now. Let's get into the update here. Throwing packages as well. It's the pinnacle of the violence here is punching a hole in a door. What's next? This is the first step. This is the first thing she's seen from him like this. So what's next? Update. Thank you guys for the comments on my previous post. However, even though I really wanted to follow everyone's advice about weight, eating, and divorce, my mother still got in my head, and because I've always obeyed her, I listened and went back to my husband. He did say that he was sorry for calling me an effing cow, but he said he was only being honest and said, and I quote, "Isn't honesty the most important foundation of a happy and healthy relationship?" And I thought he was right. So I started cutting back on my food and eating low-calorie foods, but problems almost immediately arose. My energy levels dropped and my milk supply diminished quickly. I must have collapsed at least 4 during that period, and 3 days ago, at night, the baby was crying nonstop and my husband got angry and yelled at me to make her stop. I told him that I wasn't producing enough milk due to lack of food, and he literally said, "Cows eat grass and produce gallons of milk. What are you, a meat cow?" Dude, what is going on with this guy? And none of this started until after the baby was born. That's when I decided to take my daughter while I was shushing her and letting her breastfeed whatever drops of milk I had there. And once my husband fell asleep, I left the house and came to my best friend, who welcomed me in and told me I can stay there as long as I need to. I didn't go to my brother because I didn't trust him anymore, since he also told me that I should work things out with my husband. I already filed for divorce and cut off contact with his family and my own mother. My best friend and her fiance have been helping me a lot by taking care of my baby while I was resting, and my best friend would bring whatever I needed from the store. My milk supply has returned to normal and I haven't collapsed once. I've probably had more rest for these 3 days than I've had in a month. I'm going to attempt to get full custody and supervised visits from the father, but my best friend's fiance said it might be difficult to do without evidence. And I do have at least some evidence, because we of course have cameras outside our house and they recorded everything. It may not be enough, but fingers crossed. But the Reddit advice has helped me out a lot, and I appreciate all the help. Here's the deal. It was going to happen again at some point, and at some point she was going to end up having to take action and get out of there. I'm just glad that what she waited for to happen to be enough to finally make the break and get out of there wasn't something violent. I'm just glad she didn't wait for something bad like that to happen. But he was willing to harm his child by trying to force mom to stop eating, which cut off the milk supply, which harmed his child. What does he gain out of this? Just he wants something better to look at? That's what he's concerned about? He's not concerned about the well-being of anyone involved. He's concerned about what has to cost his eyeballs. Brozo, ask on one. What in the hell? The initial question here was, it was relationship advice, and my husband threw away all my food because I'm a cow. It was terrible shit human being. I'm confused that all of this started when the baby was born, that he was supportive during the pregnancy, and once the baby was born, started down this path. I'm confused. Whatever the case may be, it's not okay. And you don't get to act like that and get to have a family. Some families stay because they have no choice or think they have no choice. Luckily, OP here had at least one person who was in her corner no matter what. And there's some other stories that we've talked about recently where that one person that's always in your corner and is always going to look out for your best interest and your best interest alone and tell you the hard truth, but be there for you when shit hits the fan. Everybody needs that one person. And if you have a person like that in your life that you haven't talked to in a long time, it's time to reach out to them and be like, hey, I know life is crazy. I know shit's crazy. I know we haven't had time to talk or to chat or to hang out or get coffee or get lunch or whatever it is, but you and I need to stay in contact for each other. It is important to have those people in your life. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another AITA story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for wanting to end my relationship because my fiance wants to spend Christmas with his daughter and ex-wife? I, female 29, met my fiance, male 35, 5 years ago. He had a 2-year-old daughter who he has shared custody of with his ex-wife, female 40. I always admired his friendship with his ex and how they're raising their daughter amicably. The first Christmas, he told me that he was going to spend it with his ex-wife and baby. He stays the whole 3 days, the 24th through the 26th. I didn't even think about it because we'd been dating only for a few months. I usually fly home to my parents on Christmas anyway. This happened every Christmas afterwards and I was fine. He proposed to me in February. Yesterday, he asked me if I was going to buy my flight to my parents early so I don't need to pay 3 to 4 times the cost if I buy it around Christmas. I was surprised. I told him that I thought we could do Christmas together this year. He said, "What?" We, his ex and he, always celebrate Christmas together for the daughter's sake. I told him that it was not okay now that we are engaged to be married. I asked him why don't they do alternate Christmases or days like other divorced couples do, but he said no, we promised to make our daughter's life as normal as possible. I started thinking after his words. I don't know how this will work in the future. After 5 years together, I'm still shipped away every Christmas and I know it's for the little girl who I adore, but I feel sick to my stomach. I think I want to end the relationship, but he thought I was being so selfish and horrible. I feel horrible too, but I don't see any future with him. Update. Fiance just got home and showed me a text he got from his ex. He told her basically that he was planning to include me in this Christmas. Her answer was long and harsh, saying that I wasn't really family yet and that she wasn't comfortable with a stranger in her house. Then she accused him of being weak and prioritizing a woman over his daughter, who's at a sensitive age now. She's 7. So he asked me that maybe not this year, but next year I'm definitely family because we will be married and his ex won't have any other excuses. I feel more conflicted now. Could I stay another year and hope it gets better, or should I just cut my losses when he obviously isn't trying to support me? I know it's his daughter he's thinking of and he doesn't want to make waves, but I feel like I'm nothing right now. Here's some relevant information from OP. OP is 8 weeks pregnant, but has not told her fiance. OP stated that her fiance, the dad, would not be around for Christmas even if they had their own children. Their children would get to see him every other day of the year, so Christmas would be nothing to them. He later said it was a joke after it upset OP. And a quote from OP, "We live in the same city. My stepdaughter lives with us 50% of the time. I have suggested Christmas Eve/day solution. No. Also suggested that the ex-wife celebrate with us every other Christmas and my husband with her the other times. No. Because of this, the ex called me a moron and laughed in my face. This was the Christmas before last." Okay, so the ex is manipulating everything here. This is a control measure implemented by the ex to still prove to you and the rest of the world that she still has control over this man. Look, when you have a split family, you are not going to be able to provide the platonic normal life that you want for your kid. It's not going to happen the way that you want it to. And actually, what they're doing here is probably one of the most harmful things they can do, because they're feeding into this false sense of hope or fantasy for the child that the parents are still together, but they're not. When instead they could accept the reality and the inevitability that you can have 2 separate happy homes. I know that this is just isolated to Christmas, but this is like an infection and it's going to grow from Christmas to other things as well. This is weird. It's weird to me. And if Candy Thunder and I were in this situation and I was like the brozo here, who was like, yeah, I'm going to go to my ex's and stay there the 24th through the 26th. It's for my daughter, but we're going to basically play house during this time to give her kind of a normal life. We wouldn't be married. That's a deal breaker. That is something that Brozo is going to have to stand up for, and not just for his newly betrothed and his newly baby mama that he doesn't know about yet. Not just because of that, because it's the right thing to do for his child. It is the right thing to do for her. She is going to end up in a place where she does alternate Christmases. And you know what? That's normal now. It's not a bad thing. Kids don't dislike it. If anything, it ends up a little bit better for the kids because they get 2 Christmases. They get the double gift thing. Kids don't hate it. I feel like this is really the ex-wife clinging to her vision of what the holiday used to be and trying to provide that for herself, less so than providing it for the child. That's what I feel like. What are you guys seeing here? Shard says her parents already don't live together. Her dad already has another woman in her life. Yeah. And I know this is just a Christmas isolation thing, but I really think this is her making it for her, the ex-wife. This is the ex-wife trying to exercise control and protect her Christmas. Peggy says, I think he's picking the ex over the fiance, so she should leave. I think OP's got to, as Candy Thunder would say, lay the hammer down. I think she's going to have to drop the hammer on this and say, look, here's the situation. I'm 8 weeks pregnant. We're about to have our own child. And if we are going to get married, I've got to know that you're going to prioritize your family on this side as well. Blended families are tough. There is nothing easy about it. However, you can't just give all of your focus on Christmas to one child. And if you're in the situation that he's in right now, and he obviously wants to spend his life with OP here because he proposed to her, you can't assume that asserting all of your energy and all of your focus to your ex-wife and your daughter is going to be okay with someone. I don't understand why the alarm bells weren't going off for him earlier, but I really feel like he's being manipulated and controlled here. It's going to be a painful process breaking free of the manipulation that his ex is exercising right now. That is going to be a painful process, and him standing up to her and saying, no, this is not how life is going to be. They need to have a parenting plan that outlines all this. They need to have a parenting plan that talks about the alternating holiday weekends. And the standard parenting plans in most states would default to that. So she can fight it all she wants. She's got to have a really good reason to get it. And I don't think a court is going to be like, oh yeah, you want to play house for a few days. Like, that's okay to keep doing that. Law. No, I don't think it's going to happen like that. OP, you're going to have to convince your betrothed here to stand up and do what's right for everyone. There has to be a parenting plan in place. There may be one already, but either this was something that they agreed to outside of court. It was just like a mediated thing, and it's a weird situation that they've allowed it to happen or they've agreed upon in here, but it's got to be modified. It cannot go on the way that it's gone on. He's pigeonholed himself into a situation that's going to prevent him from having a family. It's about to. And maybe that was the ex's intentions, was to have one thing that really prevented him from fully being able to give himself to another family. It's possible. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another Reddit story for you. This one is a best of Redditor update, and don't worry, it's a feel-good one. This is titled, My Boyfriend is Going to Cry, and I don't feel bad about it. In fact, I'm excited. First off, on a random note, good luck to everyone who is studying for finals right now. I'm procrastinating studying for my final by writing this. I am just so excited that I need to tell someone about this. I've been with my boyfriend for a little over 3 years now. I don't even think there are words to describe how I feel about him. My life changed in an unimaginable way when he entered it. There is no one on the planet that could ever make me feel the love I feel when I look at him. I never thought I would find someone who treats me this way, or that I even deserve a partner like him. He never fails to remind me what he thinks about, loves, and adores me. The other day, he made a passing comment that any experience he has ever had is always so much better if my presence is there. So, my boyfriend is a huge fan of Legos, like massive. He always buys smaller sets from Target and builds them in his free time to relax. Anytime we go to the mall, he always wants to walk around the Lego store just to marvel at the big sets. He can afford them, but he's the type not to spend money on himself. Every time we go in, I always catch him staring at the Star Wars Cantina set. He always talks about how one day maybe he'll muster up the courage to put the $400 down and fulfill his dream, but he won't have to do that. I just ordered it off the Legos website. Because I spent more than $150, I got a small Santa set. So what my plan is, I'm just going to give him the Santa set, and when we're done, I'm going to surprise him with the Cantina. He has done so much for me this year, and I can't imagine not giving this to him. So yeah, he's going to cry, but I'm excited about it. Thanks for listening. Update 1 month later. Hi all, sorry for not updating sooner. I know at least one of you was interested in one, but I wanted to enjoy the time with my boyfriend. One small thing to mention before getting into the update is that I ended up going back to the Lego store and buying the Boba Fett throne room set to match the Cantina because I knew he wanted it. And well, why not? LOL. If some are interested, I may even post updates as he builds it. He already completed the Boba Fett throne room and has started the Cantina set. So on to the update. We did our normal gift giving with my family, and I ended up putting the throne room under the tree, which he lost his shit when he opened it because he's been talking about that set for a while. After everyone settled down after gift giving and started to eat and watch Christmas movies, I asked him if he could help me do something upstairs real quickly. When we got upstairs, I told him I had forgotten to put something under the tree. When I pulled the box out from under the bed, he looked confused but started to unwrap it slowly. When he had pulled the paper back and saw the words Mos Eisley Cantina, he stopped moving for a few seconds because I don't think his brain was even fully registering what was in front of him at the time. His eyes started watering slightly and he kept saying things like, "No way," before he started grinning and tearing all the paper away. He started hugging me and kept asking why I would spend so much money on him. and I told him it was because I loved him and wanted him to be happy. He went through a mixture of jumping in excitement, hugging me, and crying for a few minutes. He kept talking about his plans to clear off the shelf behind him and put it on display in his work background. He then ended up surprising me by saying he had also not put something under the tree because he wanted to have it be an intimate moment between the two of us. He went into the closet and was laughing about how he had put it on top of the shelf because he knew I wouldn't be able to reach it or see it. I'm very short. LOL. When he came out, he was holding a tiny box, and when I opened it, there was a beautiful diamond necklace inside, which obviously made me cry like a baby. After he put it on me, we shared a nice moment together, kissing and hugging. I told him that I purposely saved the points I got from buying the set so he could get $50 off his next Lego set. He told me he wanted to get me a set so he could spend the duration of building his set while I also built a set next to him. He's always really cherished building a set with me or building one at the same time as me. So over the weekend, we went to the Lego store, and despite my saying I was happy with a smaller set that I would build slowly so I wouldn't finish before him because I felt bad since he bought me a literal diamond necklace, he insisted on getting me a big one and bought me the Bowser because he knows it's one of my favorite characters. We had a great Christmas and have been having lots of fun having designated building time together. LOL. Thank you for all of your sweet comments. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday as well. Look at that. Nice job, Candy Thunder, picking out the uplifting, heartwarming story. It's like a palate cleanser. After we have stories of all these traumatic, asshole-ish scenarios, having a palate cleanser is just what the doctor ordered.